After we have learned the contribution margin income statement, the importance of the contribution margin concept, contribution margin ratio, and the related break-even analysis, target profit analysis, we are going to learn a very useful and popular tool to put all of your CVP relationship in a graphing format, which is very easy to communicate and present to the users. Now let's continue use our bike example. Now we are going to see the income statement on the contribution margin for different level of the production and the sales volume. We have a 0 units, and then 200 units, 400 units, and 600 units in the sales units. Then you can prepare in Excel or any spreadsheet for the related sales revenue, variable and fixed expenses, and the final profits. Remember, the 400 units is a break-even point. Now we want to express all of the different items in the income statement in one piece of graphing. So let's see this, the graphing use the PPT, then I will demo this construction of the Excel and the graphing in the spreadsheet. So if you have a X and a Y axis, so imagine, okay, this is like, it doesn't matter, you draw this graphing manually or use any spreadsheet or any other softwares. The axis will be the cost driver or the sales units in our case. So we have the interval 100, so from 0 to 100, 200, to choose the most reasonable interval for your sold units. Then the y-axis will indicate both the cost and the sales revenue, because we are going to see how the sales revenue and the total cost will change with the units. And in the beginning, under low production volume, we have profits. Then once you reach to the break-even units, all the total sales revenue equals to the total cost. Then above the sales units, we are going to make profits because the revenue will be higher than the total cost. But the y-axis in our case will be both the total sales revenue and the cost information, and the interval will be 50,000. So 50,000, 100,000. For manual drawing, after you determine the related y and x, then you can first draw the total fixed expenses. In the bike company, the total fixed expense is $80,000, including your fixed overhead and fixed selling and admin expenses. So in the graph, the total fixed expense should be a constant, so a flat line. So starting from, so this like approximates the 8,000. It doesn't matter in the relevant range, the total fixed cost is a constant. Then we will add the variable portion of your cost. The variable, after adding the variable portion of the cost, so the blue line will be the total expense. Be careful. If you only see the variable expense, it will be a straight line going start from the origin, from 0. If you have 0 units, 0 variable cost. But we are adding the variable cost directly above the fixed cost. So the total cost line will start from the same point as the fixed cost and then increase with your variable expense. When I say like the angle or the steepness of the total expense is dependent on how quickly your variable cost per unit going up. If you record the information for per unit, the variable cost is $300. So every increase of 100 units, the increase of the variable cost will be 300 times 100 is like 30,000. So it's 30,000 increase of variable cost per 100 units. So the angle of the total expense is not random, or it's not just something I draw randomly here. It should corresponding for the steepness of the variable cost per unit in our situation. Our case, for 1 unit increase, the cost increase is 300. So that's kind of give you the idea, so how large this angle should be. So the blue line now is your total expense, and the indicator for like based upon the 100, 200, right? So the main cost points based upon the whole 100 sold units. Then now we will add the sales revenue to the charts. Sales revenue is the green line starting from origin because 0 units, 0 sales revenue. The sales revenue is most deep. If you see the angle here is most deep than the total expense, then you have opportunity let the revenue go higher than the expense in the future. Because the angle of the sales revenue represents the sales price per unit, which is 500. So every 100 increase of the units sold, the increase of revenue is 50,000. 500 price times 100 units. So the angle is larger than the angle of the variable portion. So we have opportunity to earn profits in the future. So imagine if your sales price per unit is lower than your variable cost per unit. For example, my selling price is only can be like $250 per unit. Then you even have a flatter line for the sales revenue, so you never can go above the total expense if your sales price per unit is less than the variable cost per unit. So now you can see the intersection of the blue is the total cost, and the green, which is the total sales revenue, intersect at the 400 units, which is our break-even point. Okay, break-even means sales revenue equal to the total cost, or contribution margin just to cover your fixed expenses. Below the break even, so underneath you can see the blue line, which is the total expense, higher than the green line, which is the sales revenue. So below the break even point for this triangle, so if I can. So I'm exiting the, oh, not, it's neither. So this triangle underneath the break even, we call the loss area, because for this area, the revenue is smaller than the total cost. So as the sold units continue to go up, the loss will be squeezed, will be reduced from a larger region to smaller until it's reached to the break even. After the break even, we start to earn profit. Remember, 401 bikes. For one more bike, beyond the break even, we make $200 profits. Then 200, 400, 600, 800. The profit area of the region will continue to increase or larger with the sold units become even higher. So the dynamic CVP, when we can prepare under the spreadsheet or on any other softwares, so you can easily to indicate and present this CVP relationship to any users that are interested and need this information for their decision making. So this is much better than you give them the whole, like the income statement on the different levels, because they don't need use those detailed information, they need to have a comprehensive idea for this CVP relationship. So which is a very useful and important graphing tool for the CVP analysis. Another variation of the graphing, you can only present the profit. When you focus on the profit rather than the revenue and cost separately, we can prepare a profit graph. Same thing, the axis, like the X, will indicate by the bicycle units. And now the vertical, the Y, will indicate the profits only. Okay, so it's all dollars, but it's your final profits. So the profits will starting from negative, like the loss when we sell below the break-even point. So below the break-even, all of your profit numbers are negative. And after break-even, we start to have positive profit. So this line represents the total profits rather than separate revenues and cost expense. So which graph you are going to use, the whole CVP or only the profit, depending on the your focus for the presentation and the decision making. But in most cases, I believe you can prepare both. Okay, so the users can see the information in different formats. So that's how the book, imagine you are preparing this manually. Now I'm going to show you how to actually construct the spreadsheet and insert a graphing using the Excel directly. So we have the same example, but how you can actually use a spreadsheet to do this. The spreadsheet format is not presented by the book and is not required, but I think this is an important skill. If you take this to 32 and you still don't know how to develop a CVP graphing actually using Excel, people may question, okay, really the knowledge you learned. So I'm going to stop sharing the slides and go to Excel to show you how you actually can do this. And now I believe you can see my share of my Excel spreadsheet. I will post this spreadsheet in the Blackboard with Chapter 6 material together. Okay, so you can download this spreadsheet and also try to produce the same thing by yourself later. It's not a homework, it's not an assignment, but I think it's an important skill for you to master. For this spreadsheet, I already key the information from the question, so I can have the information listed, like your base information for the bicycle, the sales price per unit, and you can simply use the similar format for other CVP questions. Sales price per unit, then variable cost per unit is 300. Contribution margin per unit is 200. If you like, you also can put the percentage, right, like this. So if I have, this is 100. So this will be percentage. So this is 100, and 60% is your variable expense ratio, and 40% is your contribution margin ratio. If I really don't use it in my graphing, but this is the background information, then the total fixed cost, which is a constant, right? So background information. Then you can see my calculation of the net operating income for different levels of production. So exactly as we just saw from the manual case, I start from 0, then incremental by 100 units. But I put a 401, I add this 401 after the break even to see exactly this increase of the income or contribution margin by one more bike after the break even, right? So then all other levels increase by 100. So sales revenue, so you don't need to calculate by yourself. You can key in formulas, let the Excel do it. So you can see my revenue. Okay, let's see the 100. So I use the sales volume. So A10 times a fixed sales price. Be careful. One times the sales price, I use $B, $3. So it will be fixed by, so everything is referring to this 500. Otherwise, if you don't add the dollar sign, it will change. So it will become maybe like C4 and D5. The calculation will be wrong. So this is important. Be careful. Okay, so A10. So the next sales revenue will be A11, but still referring to the same sales price. The variable cost is the same. I use the sales volume and multiply by the fixed variable cost per bike, variable total cost. Then contribution margin equals to B minus C. Okay, B10 minus C10 for the 100 level. Then fixed cost, be careful, you still need to use the dollar sign to refer to this constant 80,000. Then the total cost will be the, in the income statement, so like the vertical we prepared, you don't need this total cost item, but later when I do the graphing, I need a total cost. So add this total cost column for the graphing purpose. The total cost equals to the variable plus the fixed. So you can see this interesting. So even when you sales 0, you still have the fixed cost. Okay, that's the nature of the fixed cost. It will be more efficient if you can sell more, because the fixed cost will be assumed by more units. Okay, so the unit cost will be lower when we can produce and sell more productions. So the total cost, then the net operating income. So you either ways I did it is B10 sales revenue minus the total cost, or you can use contribution margin minus the fixed cost. You can get the same number. But this is the break-even point, right? So this is a divider between the loss and profit. So put it in Excel. Now let's use the charting tool in the Excel to construct the CVP. For the charting in Excel, I couldn't really choose the columns. I only need the column like sales volume, sales revenue, fixed cost, and the total cost. So I only need these 4 columns to construct the CVP. But for Excel, I couldn't just choose these 4 columns. So I will choose all of the data region to do the charts and then eliminate, okay, remove for the variable cost CM and operating income, which I don't need. Remove the data series and then only keep the columns we need. But initially, so I will select all of the data region, so all of the data in this area to insert a chart. Because this, think this insert, use the recommended chart, because this is part of the smart technology from the Excel. Based upon the data we choose, they can give you some recommended chart type. So click on the recommended charts, and I need the line charts, right? So the line charts showing the different revenue, cost, expenses. So it will be something like this. So I will refine, okay, the line charts later, but compare, I think this one, okay, rather than this. So this, the last one. Now it's showing all of the revenue, costs, and profits. I will choose this recommended scatter charts. Then later I will remove the columns I don't need. So click on OK and move it a little bit to the clear region, and you can enlarge this. Now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay, 6 data series. The green one is your total profits. If you only do the profit graphing, you can keep this line only. But as I'm doing the regular CVP, so I will keep the sales revenue, which is this one. Okay, this starting from origin, and this one is your sales revenue. I don't need the variable cost, don't need the CM, contribution margin, but I do keep the fixed cost, which is the yellow one, 80,000. And also keep the total cost, and I will remove the other data series. It's very easy to remove the data series you don't need. You just click on this is the net operating income, and right click it and delete. And then I will delete this one. I believe this is the contribution margin, the green one. Now one more delete, this is the variable cost. Now you can see we leave the 3 data series, which exactly like we draw manually from the slides. And now you can refine your chart area by adding title. So the chart title I can call, so CVP of bike sales. And I can leave the legend. Okay, so people can know this light blue is the dark blue is the total sales revenue, and the yellow one is a constant fixed cost, and the total cost is a light. And the 400, so this part is your break-even point. And the left side is your loss region, and the upper part is the profit region. So if you want, you can insert a shape like so a text box. Okay, I can call this is a profit area, and this is the loss. So loss region. And this is your break-even point. But anyway, this is the basic chart. Okay, then you can add maybe like the data thing. I think if you can click on here, okay, you can add ACCT titles, data labels, and you can see, I don't, the data label will really mess it up, but I can add ACCT titles, and for the vertical, it will be the cost and the revenue, as we show here. You can put sales and the total cost without it indicate both. And the X is your bike sales. And now it will be a very nice chart you can present to the users. So combining with your original Excel, so you can show how the change of the volume will change your contribution margin, net operating income, and the chart will also give them a direct idea. If you want to have a like a graphing of the charts of the net, the profit chart, so we can do another one, but only leave the operating income. So still I'm using the recommended chart. Another one, but this one I only keep. So delete all of the other series, only leave the profit. So last one to delete. So now we leave the profit only, right? So now you can rename it as your profit graph. And this is your, and you also can change your ACCT title. This is the bike sales unit. And the y-axis will be the net operating income, okay, all the profit or loss. And if you don't need this legend, because we only, oh, I'm sorry. We only have like one, this, I think we can delete this. We only have one line, one series of data, which is the profit. So you can see this is showing the change of the profit or loss with the unit. Okay, it's very clear. So, and then you can make a nice dashboard, okay, with all of this information. And these are really the skills, okay, needed for even for accountants when we present the information rather than your traditional accounting knowledge, okay, that's your master of the technologies and the skills. So I will post this final spreadsheet in chapter 6. I strongly encourage you, or even you try to download mine and then try to reproduce the same spreadsheet and the charts. And then if you can apply these charts or graphing to a different question, that even give you more practice, okay, which will be very beneficial.